Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. All right, I have Adair on the podcast from Tweak It. She does custom furniture. She also shares how to customize your own furniture with people. She does pop-ups. She even recently was selling a chalk paint set so people can use it on their DIY products. So it's she's doing a lot and it's really amazing. So before we get into that episode, just a few housekeeping items. One, I just want to read this review from Ivy Gale on Apple Podcasts. She says, amazing podcast. Nache always comes through with inspiring and informative podcast episodes. I love the diversity in her guests, and I always come away with many gems. Thank you so much, Ivy. I really appreciate it. I really am very thoughtful about who I have on the podcast and their story and how it can benefit you as the listener. And I always try to make sure that I do have a wide range of people that are coming on, from people who have a 9-to-5 and do it on the side, to people who do it full time, to people who are somewhere in between. As far as ages, I have 20-somethings on here to late 50s. I have different ethnicities. I have different types of creatives on here because I would just want to make sure that you all can see how this can be accomplished at any stage of your life. And I just want to celebrate all of these women in their different stages of life that are doing their thing, doing what they love, be it full-time or as a side hustle. So thank you, Ivy, for just recognizing that and letting me know that you enjoy the episodes. It really, really means a lot to me. And so for you guys out there, if you all enjoy this episode, please, wherever you're listening, rate me 5 stars or give me a thumbs up. And please share it. Share it with other people. You guys have done an amazing job sharing the podcast with other people these last few weeks. So thanks for the love. It means a lot. Okay. Also, before we start, I want to just say happy Thanksgiving. So I don't know if some of you guys might end up listening to this in the future, but this is the Monday before Thanksgiving 2019. And so for those of you all who celebrate Thanksgiving, I just want to say have a beautiful, beautiful holiday. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. And I hope you're with loved ones or just relaxing, whatever floats your boat. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. And then also, before we start, I just wanted to say it's almost Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. And if you're looking for a gift to give your friend, make sure to check out the Life Cleanse Journal. Head on over to NacheSnow.com. It makes a beautiful gift. It's perfectly bound, a hardcover. The texture of the book feels like suede, and best of all, there's exercises in there to help people kind of discover how to get their money right and what their passion is and all that good stuff. So if you're looking for a cool gift to give your mom, sister, best friend, check out the Life Cleanse Journal. Okay, so back to Adair. So I told you guys what she does. The last thing I'll say before I get started is, just pay attention to the journey. And I love how she started off as a dancer and then her career kind of morphed and changed. And then at a certain point, she's like, you know what? I want to start my business, but she wasn't sure what that business should be. And so she kind of went through this discovery period of what should I do? And then once she figured it out, it's just interesting to hear the steps she took and kind of where she is now and where she wants to go. So amazing story. I know it's going to inspire you guys, and you guys are going to absolutely love her. So without further ado, here's Adair. Hello, Adair. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I was able to check out your website and I was like, wow, wow, look at all the stuff she's doing. She's got like some paint. She's got all kind of stuff going on. I need to have her on here.
I'm doing too much sometimes, but thank you. I'm trying to, hustle and make it work.
Yeah. Well, before you started your business, can you just tell the listeners a little bit about like your background?
Yes. So my background is totally opposite direction in what I do now, but I still kind of do it. So my background is in dance and choreography. I grew up in New Jersey. I'm one of 5 kids. Grew up with very little money, but lived in a pretty affluent neighborhood. So we always kind of had to fake it till we made it. So that applies to kind of my business now and just our way of living and how our parents raised us. And I fell in love with dance right away at the age of 3, started dancing, and competitions, recitals, fashion shows, Black history programs, theater, you name it. I did it. My sister and I had 3 brothers. They were all into sports. So I was the one, girly girl of the mix of the bunch. So I took on dance. That was my first love. Loved being on stage, loved performing, loved being in the spotlight, and expressing my creativity kind of through that way. I went to school for it, went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, Jersey girl all the way through and through, and studied dance. I also was debating if I was going to study interior design, but I said, you know what, I want to tour with all the artists in the world, and I want to be a background dancer for, all these artists. And so let me go with dance. I can always go back to interior design. So I went to school, studied dance for 2 years, and then I got an agent in between my sophomore and junior year. And right away, like 2 weeks later, I booked my first job touring with recording artist Ashanti as a background dancer. So that was huge. I was 19 years old, and that was life-changing for me at the time. And so I kind of said, you know what, I can come back to college. I'm going to school to get these types of jobs. So let me, the opportunities are coming my way. Let me just pause and let me, live my life. And that's exactly what I did. And I danced with all the artists, just as I wished, movies and commercials, and toured the world when somebody else is dying, which is always nice. And, just lived such an awesome, looking back, I'm like, wow, I lived such a crazy, awesome life. It's just kind of surreal to me, but I, just had a really good time with it and learned a lot and grew up as a woman and just took on dance full swing. Yeah. So that's my background. I'm a dancer, which turned into choreography. My body is getting old now, and my body can't move. I can't dance like the kids do these days. So, choreography is kind of the natural next step. And so, I took a deep dive into that with overseeing the choreography for the Brooklynettes NBA dance team. And that became my full-time corporate position there, still in the entertainment space, but, got a little taste of the corporate world. So that's my background. That's all before Tweak It started.
Wow. Okay. So that's very different than Tweak It, right?
Yeah. It's different. It's different, but it's the same in that, I don't know. It's creative and it's a form of expression. It's different. It's very different. I can't fake the funk, but it's, 2 different passions that I really loved. I loved interior design, and I love performing and entertaining. So, I was able to, get both careers in so far in my lifetime.
So how did Tweak It come about?
Tweak It came about, well, my father passed away in 2012, and he was both my parents are big-time entrepreneurs. We grew up in a household that's all we knew is being an entrepreneur. He always, kind of preached the, work for yourself and, dream big, and you can do whatever you want to do, but you always work for yourself. So that was kind of his thing. So once he passed, that, through, of course, the family off, it was unexpected. For a couple years, I was distraught and didn't know what I was doing with my life. But I was, I had a corporate job at the time with the Nets. So I pushed through with that, and I knew I wanted to honor him in some big way, but cause his like larger than life personality, he was such an out of the box thinker, probably the most intelligent, brilliant thinker, that I will ever know. And so I knew I wanted to honor him in some way that was bigger than just let me get a plaque with his name in it, or let me start a charity, or I knew I wanted something larger. And so it took me a few years to come around to what that was. And I remember sitting in my little cubicle at the Brooklynets, corporate office. And I was like, what can I do? Like, what can I do to honor his legacy as an entrepreneur? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business. Now, what is the business? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to start a business. That's what I'm going to do to honor him. So I kind of was like, all right, what do I love to do outside of dance? Because I already, had that established. What do I love to do that I can turn into a business? And so that led me to Barnes and Nobles. I did a good old trip down the aisle, the crafts aisle, or turn your hobby into a profit aisle. And I was like, wow, wait a minute. I love furniture. I flip furniture already for myself, jumping from New York apartment to New York apartment with dancing and traveling. I was always reinventing my apartment with little money and giving it a new look. And there was a joy in that for me. I did it for friends and family. I flipped their furniture all the time. So I kind of just was like, wait, what do I do? I do this already. Yeah, I do this already for fun. I'm good at it. So I kind of, was writing out my list of like, what do I enjoy? What brings me joy? What can I see myself being happy doing? And then, how can I turn it into a business? And so one of the books that I picked up, really just kind of helped me find that space. And once I kind of narrowed it down and start crossing things off the list, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I need to do furniture. And that would be my way into the interior design space, without, the degree in it necessarily.
No, I love it. And, just for the listeners out here, I want them to kind of key in on a couple of different things. First of all, I just love a good bookstore. So
yes.
I feel like whenever you're having like, what should I do? You walk into a bookstore and you find the section, you will find it.
You will find it. And you need time though. You need a couple hours, like let yourself just roam in there. Barnes & Nobles is great because they got the Starbucks. You get to sit and really read all their stuff. And I walked out of there, I spent hundreds of dollars on books just because I'm like, one of these books are going to tell me something. I'm going to find my answer in one of these books.
I love it. And then I also like too, because like I'm a big time journaler, but where you say you kind of wrote down what brings you joy, because sometimes people don't realize like kind of like a small exercise like that really allows you to figure out like, okay, what are the things that I think brings me happiness and joy? Because I think sometimes people, when they take the time to do that, it really, what comes out might surprise them, or it might just be like, I kind of knew this, and it just helps to like verify like, okay, this is the thing that I need to be focused on, or at least that I need to try.
Yes. And see, how can I monetize? How can I turn this into something that makes me money? Like, it's very cliche, but if you feel like you're not going to work every day and you're successful, and making a good income, it's a dream situation right there. So I was like, what can I be doing like dance? Cause going and touring the world with, Rihanna or Kanye West or Usher or whoever is a dream. I mean, you're traveling the world, you're on stage in front of millions of people. I mean, it's a dream job to be doing that. It doesn't feel like it's a job. And so it was important for me to find my what's my next thing? What's my next love? And it was an easy fit. My mother is one of the most creative individuals. She's now into fine art restoration. So she definitely played a huge role in my inspiration in starting this business. She's very creative, graphic design to interior design, just self-taught. And so she instilled in us to, to be creative. We've, every project, third grade, like everybody wanted to be in my group because if you were in my group, your project is winning. Like
right,
we were just that family.
We are going to be amazing.
Yeah. We were that family that just went all the way out. It was supposed to be the book report, and it was a full like theater production display with a cake shaped like a penguin for the book character. Like we always went full out. And it was always a family affair too. Our whole family was just involved in everything artistic that we did. It was kind of all or nothing. So it kind of started at a younger age. One story I have when people always ask, like, with Tweak It, you have to be very resourceful, and it's all about taking trash and turning it into gold. Right. So, how did that start? And for us, again, growing up in a really affluent neighborhood and trying to blend in with those that had the money, the kids, whatever, we always were taught to use what you have. Like you already have the bones of the furniture or your clothes. You don't get school clothes this year.
Right.
Use what you have, cut it up, change it, sew this on, like figure out a way to tweak it, like, and reinvent that outfit. So my sister and I, she's a couple years younger, we would play interior design every weekend. Like that's what we did for fun. We weren't, there was no Barbies. There was no go to the playground. We were rearranging furniture. We're painting our walls. We are painting our furniture. My mother just let us do our thing and express ourselves in the room. And I think that has a lot to do with just the way I think and reinventing something that's, considered trash and turning it into something great. So one fun story is we actually took cereal boxes. Yes. Cereal box covers. We said, what do we eat? What do we have a lot of that we can tile our ceiling with?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of cereal boxes.
We had done every other arrangement possible. Every weekend you're playing it. The bed can't be anywhere else. Like,
right.
So what can we do with the ceiling? Like there's a whole nother, area of real estate up there. Like, what can we do? So we said, you know what? We eat a lot of cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So let's collect cereal boxes. We can get it cheap, free, and we'll cut off the covers and we'll line our ceiling with cereal boxes. And that's exactly what we did. We had a fully tiled
That would be a
ceiling.
Pretty cool, like, pattern now. I can see it.
We were the coolest kids in the neighborhood, I swear, from our room. Captain Crunch, Cheerios, like Frosted Flakes.
Right.
So, yeah. So it kind of started at a young age.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question because, okay, a lot of people sometimes come to that realization like, okay, I want to do something new. I want to start a side hustle. I want to do it. And they never really do it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so how did you do it? Like, what were like some of your first steps? Because I think even once people have the idea, it's just like, well, who am I going to sell this to? And what should I start with first? It's like sometimes that trips people up. And then like a year later, they still haven't done anything. So what was it for you that, kind of got you going?
Well, whenever I see that too, it's so sad because there's so many people that have amazing ideas and concepts and they just don't jump. They just don't take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to encourage that every single day on my platforms, like just take the leap. And again, because of my parents and their entrepreneurial dream big, you can do anything mentality and kind of how we were raised. It wasn't a thing for me at all. It was like balls to the wall, all in, just try it. What's the worst that can happen is no one buys something. And who cares? I go back to the drawing board and I think of something else to create or to build so that part wasn't hard, just jumping in. For me at the time, I had my full-time position at the Brooklynettes overseeing their entertainment. So financially I was, stable and had insurance and all that. So I was able to start it off doing it on the side. And that's what I would, encourage people to do is just start it off small. Just, you don't have to be, 30 under 30 business right away. Right. Like start it off small. Just do one piece, put a little website together and just try it out before you shoot yourself in the foot and get in your own way. So that's what I did. I just, I went the Etsy route, because Etsy has a built-in audience, and that's in the books that I read. I felt like Etsy was the best fit at the time, as a platform for me to sell furniture.
And what year was
And
this? I forgot that.
this is 2015.
15. Okay.
15, yeah. And so I said, I'm just going to go to some flea markets, which I do anyway for myself. Go to some flea markets, go to some yard sales. Let me get a few pieces. My mother and my stepfather let me have their shed in the back of their property to work out of. This is in the middle of the woods with all the animals you can think of and spiders and bugs and no light, no electricity. So for me, who's, that's not my thing. It was a tough beginning, but you got to start somewhere. So I started in their little shed and, they taught me a lot of what I know as far as the basics, sanding, how to use some of the basic power tools. And I just really am self-taught. I just started trying it and just reading a lot of stuff online, looking at YouTube, and looking at these videos of how people are doing it and just learning from that. I tweaked my first 3 little pieces of furniture. I remember my first 2 pieces was a set of accent tables. And then I did a trunk that I turned into a coffee table and then this large glass coffee table. So I had 3 pieces. I just went to town with them and whatever came to mind, I did. Didn't really think much about, what sells or what colors work or what's the trends. I just did what I would do to it for my apartment kind of thing, and put it on Etsy. And then off I went.
Now those are some big items. So were you really catering towards people that were in, your city, or did you have to figure out how to ship these items also?
Girl, the shipping
I was like,
the shipping is one of the challenges with this kind of business. I mean, the shipping and having a warehouse that can store this size of product,
Right.
I didn't know what I was really catering to be honest. I just posted it to see, do people like it? And to be honest, most people weren't from New Jersey or New York or the tri-state area. Most people were purchasing my things from California, from, Texas, Florida, all over the place. So right away I had to be like, whoa, there's a thing called shipping. There's a thing called, it costs a lot of money to ship heavy pieces of furniture and glass.
Yeah.
And that turns customers off. So I learned real quick, what not to do, and sticking to small pieces. Like I was known for the New York City style apartment, multi furniture, super small, because that's what I could ship and feel comfortable asking people to pay for that shipping price. So it's definitely a challenge. It still is till this day. It's sometimes I'm like, I wish I picked up on something that was a smaller thing to produce, because furniture, it's heavy, it's hard on my body lifting, and delivering. And, so it's definitely no joke when it comes to shipping and delivery, but it's one of the challenges that I continue to work through. And one day I hope to have my own delivery service, company and people that handle it for me. But as of now, it's me and my SUV and I'm lifting my husband, now fast forward, now married, moved to Los Angeles, a year ago. So my company is now based out of Los Angeles. My husband is a huge, supporter of the company, and a reason why I'm still really doing it to this day. Cause I've definitely wanted to give up sometimes because of things like shipping and finding warehouses that I can afford, that can store all these things. But,
right. Cause they're a nice size. So that could fill up your house. Really. Like you could be just tripping over stuff all the time.
You should see me right this very second. I'm sitting on top of a buffet that I'm delivering for a client on Saturday. I have 2 end tables right here, and I have 3 trunks on the other side of the room. It's my apartment and my studio space. It's filled with furniture. But I love what I do, so it's worth it. My husband, deals with it. He comes in, he's tripping over paint and, canvas and the whole 9 yards. So
let me ask you this. Did you decide to quit your 9 to 5 and do this full time? Or when you moved to LA, did you find another 9 to 5 and still do this on the side?
So for 8 years, it's a good question. 8 years, I was full-time with the Brooklynettes. And that was, I loved that job. I love the people that I worked for, the women, my closest friends, and sisters, I call them, worked for that organization. And I met through that organization. So it was really tough for me to leave it. I grew up there. My mentors are from there. I learned a ton there. So it was tricky, but I did know that corporate world was not for me at all. I did not belong and operate well behind a desk and I felt a little too boxed in, and, my creativity, I wasn't able to be as creative because I had to, cater to certain guidelines. And so 4 years into that 8-year stretch, or it's about 7.5-year stretch, I decided then to do Tweak It on the side. So I kept my full-time job for 3 of the years and started Tweak It as a side business, literally weekends only. My studio space at the time, my brother let me I went from the shed out where the wolves were into my brother, owns a lot of property, and he let me take over, a huge room in one of his, buildings. So I was able to rent free, have space, and to really get the brand off the ground. And I literally would go down 2-hour drive back from New York, from Brooklyn down to South Jersey, and on the weekends do my flea market, shopping, do my tweaking on the weekend, stay with my mom, and then go back for the work week. So I definitely balanced, getting it off the ground while I still maintain the full-time job.
That's dedication.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of dedication. And at the time I was in a different relationship with somebody else. And it was in a healthy relationship, and it was kind of my escape to get away for the weekend, kind of. So it didn't feel like work at the time. It was kind of my release. And, it's where I got to be, artsy and messy and not necessarily live in the glamorous entertainment world that I did during the 9 to 5. So it worked in the beginning, but then after a point, it was kind of like, all right, Tweak It's never going to get off the ground if my time is split this way. And if it's just on the weekends, it's never going to make it to something that will work until I put my full, time and devotion into it. So luckily my now dating somebody new, then engaged, my fiance at the time got a job here in Los Angeles that he couldn't turn down with the Los Angeles Rams. So that was huge. I met him, by the way, at the Nets. So that's the number one reason why that's the best job, because I met my husband there. But
so you're like, okay, job, you served your purpose. Thank you.
Yes, done. I'm good. Done. I love it. I miss it. I still come back to this day, and I'll chime in and help out with some things because I love the organization. But yeah, once I knew that was my reason, it was time to go. But he got a great offer. And so we abruptly, within a 2-week period of time of finding out, up and left. And both of us left the organization and moved to Los Angeles, to support his thing. And I was like, you know what? This is the time for me to fully give Tweak It my full devoted, attention. And so now it is my full-time thing. I'm not doing any other corporate work or anything of that sort out here. I'm fully focusing on Tweak It.
Wow. And then question for you, because, people kind of plan out what they want for their business differently. So for you, now that you're when you first went out to LA and you decided to do this full time, did you say okay, I'm going to try to make X revenue every month, and if I hit that, then I know that this is something that's sustainable? Did you have other goals that you were trying to hit, just so you can know, okay, this is something that's growing and that can be a full-time kind of gig? I was just curious kind of how you kind of worked through, okay, this is how I know this is going to be the thing, at least for right now, that I'm going to concentrate on.
I'm still doing that. We've been here for a year. It feels like I've been here for 5 minutes. Time is flying. We got married during this time back in New York. So as soon as we got here, a lot of my time initially was spent in tweaking my wedding and putting on this, amazing event for 250 guests back in New York. So my time was a little split initially. Yeah. I was flying back to New York every single month to plan the wedding. And building out the design and the decor. So,
of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how are you a Tweak It queen and you don't tweak your own wedding, right?
Right. So, but that's a lot of pressure too, right? Because you're I had this vision in my head. I need to get this right. It almost becomes like even a little marketing piece.
It was great because I was still learning and growing and plugging my business, of course, throughout the process. And it actually, by the end of it, I said, you know what, I should be doing events. Like it almost made me think I should be tweaking events and doing events instead, because like it just turned out really way beyond our expectations. My husband is extremely creative as well, so he played a big part in it. But anywho, I was half, sidetracked with wedding life, and you get sucked into that world easily. But when I first got here, I just wanted to kind of learn the lay of the land. The style of furniture is different out here. There's space out here. You don't live in a closet. You live in larger spaces, so furniture is different. We live in Santa Monica, where it's super coastal and beachy and laid back, and everything is neutral and blue. And so for me,
totally different.
Yeah, totally different than kind of what I was doing in New York. And so I, took a minute to kind of evaluate the style and kind of redefine my style, which has definitely changed since I've lived in New York. And we got some branding help, and kind of did a rebrand where we hired for the first time, a branding agency to kind of, get a mission statement together, get our brand voice together, and just kind of help with the social media. Now let me rewind for a second, because at this point, social media wise, I had done everything myself. Up until that point, I was probably at like 20,000 followers, or maybe, 15,000 followers. At that point. And then I got on the TV show Flea Market Flip. And that's what really got eyeballs on Tweak It. My mother and I competed on that show. We lost, by the way, but
hey,
we had a great time.
Yeah.
We had a great time. It was great exposure. So that kind of boosted. So once we got to LA, I did a West Elm pop-up right away. West Elm has a pop-up program where they support local artisans across the country. And I did one in New York. So as soon as I got to LA, I was like, all right, the first things first, let me just do a pop-up at West Elm and just trying to get my name out there and just try to let California know that I'm here, and kind of establish a new customer client base. So I did a pop-up here in downtown LA, which essentially just means bringing, 6 or 7 pieces that I whipped together really quick in like a 3-week period of time. And I brought my pieces, had them out on their sale floor, and sat there for 2 days and just passed out my business card, and it was just more of a marketing piece than a actual sales initiative. I did end up selling some pieces. And so that was kind of the beginning of, okay, I could do this here in LA. Like, people are liking my stuff and I'm on to something. As far as a plan goes to your question, I really didn't have one. There was no strategic, I need to make X amount of dollars. I need to do this to do this. I did start to look at other businesses, not necessarily here in California, but in the world. There's this one business in London that I reference often because I think they have a really good business model. But my biggest challenge is scaling it. I offer custom pieces. I started off doing my own collection, but then over the years, the demand is more so in the commissioned pieces, where it's, hey, I have my grandmother's buffet side table that's ugly and outdated, but I need to keep it in the family. Can I drop it off, and can you refinish this piece? And so my business model has changed from me creating fun furniture pieces that I like to design and I sell, to doing, 80% of the time, I would say I'm doing commissioned pieces here, custom for people, which isn't as fun because you have to do what your client wants you to do.
Right.
But it's still, it's still fun. And I try to fit in my own stuff in between. But one of the tools that I use that I've learned here in Los Angeles is, which I probably should save for the end when you ask me about my tools. So I'm going to hold on that note.
No, you can go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the tools that I've learned here in Los Angeles, there's a site and app called Thumbtack. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Yes. Yep.
Of Thumbtack. I didn't know about it in New York at all. But in Thumbtack is a site where it just offers a bunch of services for anything you need in and around your home, typically. And so I learned that there's a furniture refinishing category on there. And so I've listed my services as a furniture refinisher here in LA. And that's what's been insane. The business has been off the hook ever since I did that. So I have been swamped with commissioned, custom furniture pieces since we've been married for the last 4 months.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And then I see too, like you have like paint that you're now selling, and I believe you do workshops too. So it looks like you're trying to diversify your income. So I was just curious, like how that's going and why you decided to like kind of venture out into like some other things.
Well, I think it's important, there's just one of me, right? So I don't have a team yet. I don't have a staff of other furniture artists that can, I can create and direct them and they execute. So it's just me, and it takes, I'm literally watching paint dry, like literally. So pieces take a long time. They take a couple weeks. And so I'm like, all right, how can I make more money? How can I, scale and have different money streams, or revenue streams. So I partnered with a furniture paint company that's local here in California. I'm a huge fan of their paints. I use their paints all the time, rainbow chalk paint. And I just shot him a note and said, hey, like I would love to come up with my own color collection of paints. Like, would you guys be willing to like produce and handle and ship and do in the fulfillment center? And can I select my color? Can I select the names? Can I, put my brand on it, and let's just do a collab? And they were totally up for it, and excited about it. So this is my first go at it. We have a fall collection of 6 colors. It's very fun to pick out the name. The naming was fun within itself, just naming the colors.
Yeah.
To see all the people that follow, there's a lot of DIY generation, millennial like folk that are in that spirit of do it for yourself. Or I say TIY, tweak it for yourself. But, let's see if these people would buy my paint. If my brand were on paint, would they buy it? And so that was one, suggestion of, starting a paint line. Down the road, I'd love to do, a multitude of things with having my own textiles, papers, fabrics to upholster my own chairs with, So there's, down the line here now I'm like, this is something I should start to make my own stencils. I can't find stencils that I think are cute or that are my vibe. Let me just make my own. Or I can't find fabric that's funky enough for me. It's a little too traditional and like expected. So I need to come up with my own fabric. So I'm starting to write that list of like, all right, what's next? Because if I can't find it, then I need to just make it, make it myself.
No, I think that's great. And I think that's amazing that you're diversifying your income too, because of course, doing furniture, you have to put hours into that, right? You have to let paint dry. You have to like crack stuff open. I mean, that's like very labor intensive. So I always think it's like great when people have like something else, like for example, paint, where you could be like, just go here and purchase it. I don't have to sand anything.
Exactly.
Anything.
It's easy. It's easy money. It just rolls in. All you got to do is promote it. You got to post pictures of it. You got to talk about it. You got to use it and show how it's used. Look how easy. And people go for it. Right. Yes, girl. I'm so happy I discovered this, because just doing the furniture alone, it is very time's consuming, and you have to wait 72 hours or more sometimes for layers to dry. So it's like you can't rush it. And I've learned the hard way, but you can't rush paint. And then when it comes to upholstery, I do some basic upholstery. Those types of things you can get done faster because there's no curing component, but it's very, very, very time. It eats up your life. So anything else that I can throw in there to kind of create a larger brand than just being furniture, I'd like to do. And the workshops, I haven't actually started them yet. I do have them up on my site as a teaser of 2020. I do plan to do kind of like a paint and sip like you would do, and drink wine and paint a canvas at those, paint and sip like places, similar to that model, but with furniture.
Yeah.
I think would be fun. I think a lot of people, everybody has a old piece of furniture sitting somewhere in their apartment or something raggedy from their college days or whatever that could, take on a new life. So I'm excited. I'm kind of in the works of kind of putting that together, where I create some, fun experiences where, women and men gather with, of course, some wine will be involved because I'm a wino, and music. And even if there's a fun way to incorporate my dance background, where maybe while paint's drying on this coat, we get up and I teach them. I don't know. I just want it to be like a house party, but we actually are walking out of there with furniture in the end of it, kind of thing. So I'm working on that as we speak. And that's definitely in the future for Tweak It.
And then just one question before we get to the wrap-up questions, because I think you've done a great job of marketing yourself. I think you're finding different ways. Some people would have been intimidated to even apply to be on that show, right? They're never going to choose me. Why should I even apply? Or even with social media, sometimes people get caught up. What do I put on there? How do I engage? How do I get followers? Or even just as simple as going on Etsy and just actually putting your stuff out there. So what have you done that you feel like has worked for you to try to tweak it so that more people find you? What's worked and not worked?
Well, for me, since my business is very visual, Instagram as a platform has been my number one push. Facebook, I am on Facebook as well, but Facebook, the demo there is a little different than Instagram. And I've found that Instagram demo is where, it's transacting. So I do, I was a little shaky in the beginning starting off and trying to find my brand, trying to find my voice in it all. But in the later years of it, especially since I've been here in Los Angeles, I think what draws people to my business is me showing them the journey of a piece. So I've, now with Instagram stories and Facebook story and all these live, the lives or whatever, showing people the good, bad, and ugly and all the in between, and not just here's the before and here's the after. People are really interested in how did you do it and what made you think of that and why did you put those colors together? And, the line is not straight that you have there on that drawer. You know what I mean? They want to know why and how, and people are so into the personal part of it. So I have been really just being open and letting people into my world. I might look crazy on my live videos or on my Insta stories. I just kind of let go of caring, and just showed them a raw sense of the day in, day out of the business. So that's the errors, that's the mistakes, that's the, ew, this design thought was terrible. Let me rewind, or I think that people are really into relating to people that are relatable. Watching people that are relatable and they're inspired by seeing the raw reality of it all. So I on the marketing side, started to really include myself into the brand more and just, this is me. Take it or leave it. This is what I do. This is what my studio looks like. And just watch.
This is paint on me.
This is work. It is. My nails look crazy. And people love it. They eat it up. They love the rawness of it. And so I've been just leading with that and just being myself and putting my, myself into it. But then also there's people are intrigued with this other life of me doing choreography, and I'm on set for, last week choreographing for a Disney TV show for 2 weeks. I live a creative world, and a creative life. And so I think I started to get a lot of questions and people sliding into my DMs oh my God, I so saw you on this, or, well, you're a dancer, you're a choreographer. People are just interested in the other side. So I've been lately just putting my everything out. This is me. I'm married. I dance. Our wedding, my family, everyone's just on blast on my social pages because people are into it. They're into the full 360 of a dare and of Tweak It. And it really is a mentality more so. I'm trying to kind of push the brand into, it's not just a furniture, refinishing brand. It's a lifestyle brand because my mentality is tweaking it, take something old, whether it's your recipe, whether it's your fitness routine, whether it's your relationship with your brother that needs some mending, whatever it is, take it and make baby steps and just tweak it. And one little tweak leads to another tweak, leads to another tweak. And, you can really get a masterpiece at the end of it. And so I kind of apply that to all things, dance included. And so I was like, what? I'm just going to put my whole life on here. It falls into line with the brand, and hopefully, people like it. And so that's been my marketing kind of strategy, is just raw.
Just be yourself.
And, Instagram has been my main thing. Of course, I started my own site on Shopify, which is very user-friendly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's user-friendly, but it's not, I did it myself or whatever, but it's not, and I know that's your background, right? It's not great for like the creative stuff like me. It's good for products, and it's user-friendly and easy to see your analytics and things like that, but it's not my end-all site for sure. But my site is obviously my main hub where I hold all of my marketing materials. YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, it's the world of social media, man. It's really where it's at.
Yeah, and I feel like Instagram is like your jam too, where everything just comes out, right? You can see your personality, your life, like it allows you to really show like all of your creativity. I know with Shopify it's tricky. I think it's finding that right theme and then figuring out how to tweak that site to kind of match your person. I know, right? To match that personality, but it's that custom, that theme that really works, and then
that speaks to your brand,
right, come to life.
And it's work. You got to maintain. I do it all. I maintain the site. I maintain the social media. I'm doing I'm painting. I'm doing obviously the products. I'm shipping. I'm delivering. I'm everything right now. So it's a lot to manage. So Shopify has been great to kind of make it easy for me for now as a temporary site.
Yeah, that's perfect. So just a few wrap-up questions. So I know you mentioned Thumbtack is one of the tools that you use, but are there any other tools that you kind of live and die by to help keep you organized, keep you sane, all the things?
Thumbtack is great for getting, if you offer a service of any kind, it is great for getting your service out to your local environment. So I do love me some Thumbtack. I'm, as a lot of artists, creatives are, the business side of things is not my strength. And that's where my husband comes in and keeps it together. But, for me to stay on task and to stay into a routine is crucial, but I don't always do it. So to help me do it, I use my good old notes in my iPhone. And at night, usually when I'm in bed, I plug in what needs to happen tomorrow. And I do it at night and not in the morning, because in the morning you spend an hour doing it and you wasted an hour of your day. So I like to plug in, all right, I got to make sure I post a couple posts. I got to run to the hardware store and get XYZ supplies. I have to deliver this. I need to follow up with this client. And then I'll mix in other stuff like I got to pay this bill or, personal life things. So I create a list, just random, nothing to it. And I make sure that next day that the gratification of deleting the list is like everything. And so deleting and knocking things off the list. So I just check in with that throughout the day. So good old notes or notepad, notebook, obviously is the old fashioned way. Since Instagram is my biggest platform and what I do is visual, I think the apps that I use for photo editing, for my stories, for my video, are important, and they're my everyday lifeline. So for images, I'm a huge fan of Photoshop Fix, which is hard. Photoshop is like, as you probably know, it's very professional. It's definitely not as user-friendly. You have to really know what you're doing. So it took me a long time to get it. But Photoshop Fix, the app, is really, really good for just cleaning up, brightening up your images and cleaning up, for me, the backgrounds. My studio is very small. And so in real life, the background is the floor is covered in sawdust. You know what I mean? The background is like, it does not look like at all what it looks like in the pictures that you see. So for me, Photoshop, I'm able to just clean up and do a clean background, clean up the floor so it looks like I'm a clean individual. And I'm able to present myself nicely. And so I use Photoshop a lot. I also use InstaSize to resize my images. I think that's important for clarity, for your images to be clear and not overstretched, and to be the right size for the right network or marketing platform that you're using. So InstaSize is something. They also have really good filters that I find. I'm not a filter fan in general, but oftentimes, just to bring vibrancy so that my piece really looks like what it looks like in real life. Sometimes the yellow doesn't look as vibrant, or the pink doesn't look as pink as it really looks in real life. So I'll use a filter. So I like InstaSize for their filters. And then iWatermark is great for putting your brand on everything. And that took me a while to come around, but just throwing your brand on every piece is crucial, because people be taking things, right? People just snap.
I saw something on like a major like Instagram thing, and I was like, wait a minute, that's my photo. And it was like no credit, no anything.
No credit.
Like, oh my goodness.
People take it. So I put my logo on my finished work pieces. If I put it on everything, it would just take too much time. But on my finished work, I put my logo. People can still Photoshop the logo out, but at least I know I tried, right? And I put that logo on. So I use iWatermark. It's very, very simple to throw the logo on. For my stories, which, I think we're definitely moving into the time where video content is all that it's going to be eventually.
Like
so it's important to really invest in stories. It really, everything's going to be video and emojis at some point, which is really sad. But Unfold is an app that I use.
That
you use.
Yes.
It's really good, right? They have really nice templates, and it just helps keep your brand consistency clean on your stories. I don't use it all the time because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm on the go, and I like for people to see the rawness of whatever moment I'm in. If I'm at the hardware store and I can't find the screw size that I need, I just pull up my phone and I hit it. So all of it doesn't filter through Unfold, but when I have a chance to breathe and kind of plan, I like to use Unfold just to keep the consistency the same as far as a look. For videos, I use Quick, and it's spelled with a K. It's great. It's user-friendly, and it's easy. You plop in the pictures, you pick and videos, you pick a template, and it makes the video for you. And then, of course, you edit and edit and edit. But it's super easy. I can do it quick. Hence the name Quick. I can do it quick. Right. And I do all my product videos. People like to see the journey. So I show what it started off looking like, me throughout the process, and then the final, what it looks like now. So I use that app for videos, and I'm sure there's way more better apps for videos, but I find that one's just simple and easy for me.
It's like just what works, right? Like I always tell people there's like a million apps to do one thing, but it's not all of them will work for you and how your brain works. So it's like you find the one where you could, make those modifications on the fly without having to how does this work, or what did I mean by this?
The learning curve.
That's too much.
I spent the time learning it, and the thought of learning another one, I'm like, oh. But I would say a lot of people use it, I think, now. When I first started, I didn't notice, and now I'm starting to see the same templates, the same, stock music that's used on it. And I'm like, okay, everyone's onto it. I gotta move on.
You gotta switch it out. I gotta switch it
up. I gotta tweak it. I gotta switch it up. So I will look for new videos. I don't know if you have any video apps that you recommend, but for now, Quick is doing it for me. And then lastly, I would say, whenever I'm doing any partnership or proposal that I need to put together with partners, with other brands and such, I use Keynote. Good old Apple Keynote to put together any decks. I'm often pitching, TV shows. There's a lot of interest in me having a TV show. So there's, which is kind of cool because it's a mixture of both of my worlds, entertainment and furniture. So it would be great if it happens. But Keynote is something that I use to put together all my decks, all my pitches, or if I want to, align myself with certain brands that I'm pitching to, or furniture stores and things like that. I'll put together my decks through Keynote. Also very user-friendly. You can do it both on your phone and on your desktop. And Shopify we spoke on, and Thumbtack we spoke on. Ooh. So those are my tools. Those are my everyday life living tools.
I love it. I mean, anybody who listens, you guys know I'm a tool junkie. I like all the tools. So I've learned about a couple new ones here, which is great.
Yes. And I would say, you know what, my final tool is my husband. I think it's important to have a soundboard, just somebody you can bounce your stuff off of and not get judged and sound crazy. And, you know, I have some rough nights where I'm like, there's no way I'm going to finish this piece in time and the customer is demanding, or, you know, there's a weak month where I don't have a ton of work flowing in, and, you know, you have your ups and downs, and it's just nice. Or, oh, I had this crazy idea. What if I outline this trunk with socks? Like, is that cool? You know, it just whatever it may be, you know, just having somebody that, you know, supports what you do, and, you know, the people that you're around and surround yourself with and you share your ideas with, I think is really important, and probably the most important tool of them all.
I agree. And then I know you like to dance, and of course you like to create furniture, but do you have a hobby that's different than the two?
You know, I knew you were going to ask that question. So I listened to all your podcasts. So I was trying to, you know, create a hobby, but you know what? I really don't have one. My hobby is I turned my hobby into a business.
Hey, you're the second guest this season to say that. Like,
really?
Like
I turned my hobby into a business.
Yeah.
And I went down that Barnes & Noble aisle and I said, well, how can I turn my hobby into a business? And so my hobby is, I mean, I enjoy refinishing furniture. I really do. And of course, dance is, I wouldn't consider it a hobby, because I don't go to dance classes anymore for fun. You know, it's still associated with work.
Okay. Like that is,
although I
like
love to do
job.
it, you know, don't get me wrong. Don't catch me at a wedding though, or an event. I am not dancing. People think that I will be on the middle of the dance floor.
That's a different kind of dancing.
I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to dance like regular people. You know what I mean? I'm awkward. I don't know how to, you know what I mean? I don't want to look like I'm on a battle stage with J-Lo. So I get really awkward and uncomfortable in social gatherings where you have to dance, because everyone's looking at you like, you know how to dance.
Like they want to see you perform.
Yeah, they're expecting. So my arms are all tight down to my side. I just two-step the whole time. Really, it's really awkward. But I really don't have a hobby. I wish I can say I did, but I don't.
No,
my tweaking is my hobby.
No, I love it.
I would love to take up the hobby though of cooking. It's something that I'm getting into a little bit more, just learning how to cook. It's something that I didn't do growing up much. So I would love to start that and start taking some classes and just learn different cuisines and things like that. It's definitely something that I'm interested in taking up when I can find some time.
Yeah, that's perfect. And where can the listeners find you?
The listeners can find me first and foremost on Instagram at Adair, ADAR.tweakitstudio. And then on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, you can find me at Tweak It Studio. And of course, my website is tweakitstudio.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, girl. I really appreciate it. It's such an honor to be on it. I've been, listening to your podcast forever. I listen to every episode, and I kind of put it out in the universe that I'd be on it one day, and here I am. So thank you so much for having me.
Your stuff is amazing. I'm glad I'm able to share your story. So this is great.
Thank you so much.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. Gold, right? I had so much fun talking to Adair. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it, and please give me a thumbs up or 5 stars, but definitely share it, because I think it would be great for other people to hear her story and get inspired. I have all of the links that she mentioned over at nachesnow.com/97. I'll leave you with 2 quick takeaways that I got from this. The first one is share yourself on social media. People like to see the behind the scenes, and they like to see you, and you don't have to look all picture perfect. They don't care about that. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And then the second thing that I'll bring up, because I love a good bookstore and I love just kind of going through all the things in the business aisle or what creative aisle or whatever. And that is a great place to start if you're just not sure what you want to do. start at your local bookstore or the library. Anywho, I will leave you guys with that. As I said in the beginning, have a beautiful, beautiful holiday. And I will definitely be back next week with another amazing guest. And don't forget to check out the Life Cleanse Journal, NacheSnow.com. Okay, bye.